name is Stacy Berquist, and my subject for today is going to be the use of persuasion in cults and a non-coercive deprogramming. Cults have been around for centuries, but have only really become a topic of interest in the past 50 years. Some of the most well-known cults are the Manson family, Heaven's Gate, and the People's Temple. Many people wonder how someone could become part of something with such outlandish beliefs. Cult leaders use persuasion tactics in order to recruit new members and prevent followers from disobeying. Similar persuasion tactics are used to provide followers the help they need to gain back control over their lives. Cults can mean different things to different people. And for our topic today, we're going to define cults as a group that uses psychosocial persuasion to manipulate a person to take on radical beliefs, lose their self-awareness, and become dependent on the group for all aspects of their lives. Cults are grouped into different categories based on their mission and beliefs. When most people think about cults, they are thinking of either doomsday or religious cults. Doomsday cults believe that the end of the world is approaching. They are in preparation through learning survival skills and gathering supplies. In order to survive this apocalypse, you must become a follower. Religious cults worship some form of a being, and typically the leader of the cult is this being, or he's the only one, or they are the only one worthy of communicating with said being. These beliefs are usually a mixture of mainstream religions that have been interpreted to fit the leader's agenda. And as the leader becomes more confident in their control over their followers, these beliefs take on a sinister, more self-serving role. Cults can fall into multiple categories, with doomsday and religion being the most common combination. In order to have people become devoted to the group, cult leaders must have a charismatic personality. A study done by Smith and Zarat showed how participants were more likely to believe a charismatic person with little or no knowledge of a subject over a non-charismatic expert of the same subject. In addition to a charismatic personality, leaders typically show a narcissistic personality disorder. And this is a person that is described as being selfish, have a strong sense of entitlement. They lack empathy for others, but they also need to be admired by others. Cults grow by using a pyramid scheme pattern, and each member is expected to bring in new recruits. When searching for prospective new members, recruiters search for individuals who fit a certain profile. They're looking for a person who has no current religious beliefs, a dependent personality, lack of self-awareness, or low self-esteem. Those would be the easiest to influence. Young adults between the ages of 18 and 23 are the most sought-after targets. At this stage of age, individuals are trying to establish their own independence. They may feel pressure due to family expectations or may be looking for acceptance. This feeling of unacceptance can stem from the lack of a close relationship with their family. Loneliness can cause them to gravitate towards groups that become their new family. Most people believe that a person becomes involved in a cult because they have been brainwashed. However, cult leaders actually use psychological persuasion methods that influence a change of behavior. There are several different approaches that they use to accomplish this. One such approach is the elaboration likelihood model. This model could take on two different routes. There's the central route, which is a fact-based information used to persuade. This route creates a cognitive thought process that allows the listener to evaluate the facts. And actually, this route is one of the ways that is used to deprogram someone that is coming out of a cult. The other route is the peripheral route. This route uses misleading clues that legitimize the speaker's message. And an example of this would be that the recruits will think that the leader is all-knowing simply based on the number of followers that they have and the fact that they are using terminology that the listener has never heard before. Humans have an evolutionary need to be part of a group. In an organized group, there's always a leader, and there are different levels of importance that people can achieve. In need to be part of a group, people will take on the beliefs of those in the higher role. This tactic is the social identity theory. In this theory, a person will attribute their self-worth to their membership within the group. When you speak negative about the group, you're also speaking negative about them. Another method that cults heavily rely on is the self-categorization theory. If a member doubts or questions the beliefs of the group, they learn that only a member at a higher level within the group can provide the answer because outsiders do not know the truth. This group mentality reiterates the concept that it is us, those that are good, against them, the evil outsiders. Using these methods, recruiters will begin to develop close relationships with potential new members. It is important for the recruiter to learn any fears or secrets that the recruits may have. This information will become useful if that individual needs to be punished later. Recruits are led to believe that through the leader's guidance, they will learn the truth and eventually have all their needs met. In order to reach the higher levels within the group, you must fully commit to the cause. Commitment can be proven in different ways, such as living with the group, hours of prayers and chanting, taking classes, or participating in the rituals. Members are typically required to quit their jobs and work day and night for the good of the group. Several followers experience sleep deprivation, which hinders cognitive thinking. The end goal is to have that new member become dependent on the leader, and the loss of income further contributes to this dependency. Members who struggle with doubt are attacked or threatened with removal from the group. In order to avoid this, members begin to convince themselves that the group is right and eventually losing their own self. In the early 70s, a group of concerned parents started to form in opposition of many new religious groups that were emerging. The strange beliefs and groups' commitment requirements had the parents convinced that their children were being brainwashed. During this time, there was not a lot of information available in regard to how to combat this issue. Many believed that in order to reverse the brainwashing, a person needed to be kidnapped and deprogrammed using similar tactics that were used to brainwash them. Cult leaders began warning their followers that their parents and families are outsiders who planned on kidnapping them and to tell them lies about the group. These outsiders did not know the truth and would only hinder the members' personal growth. If and when the followers' families addressed their concerns, they did it with anger and with accusations. This only reiterated what the cult leader had predicted, and this further pulled the people away from their families. Many cults stated that their First Amendment rights were being violated when this happened. This resulted in legal battles and negative media attention. In 1986, the journal A Marriage and Family published a study on how family influences contribute to a person's ability to leave a cult. This study concluded that the strength of the family's relationship during the individual's teen and young adult years play a significant role in whether the individual leaves the cult and does not return. Family involvement was essential, but the solution of kidnapping and deprogramming was not effective, and a different approach needed to be taken. In the late 90s, a different approach began to emerge. Counselors began to use a non-coercive intervention approach. At this time, there is no formal training process in order to become certified in treating people who wish to leave a cult. However, to be successful in providing treatment, additional training must be done. Knowledge can be attained by attending cultic study conferences, meeting with former cult members, and becoming an apprentice under a more experienced therapist. It is common for counselors in this field to only specialize in one or maybe two certain cults. This is due to the fact that the counselor must have a complete understanding of the cult's beliefs in order to have a productive conversation regarding the true nature of the cult. Interventions is not a one-time session, but it can be multiple sessions that may be needed for years. Treatment will involve not only individual and family therapy, but also group sessions. The group sessions will be made up of former cult members who can share their knowledge and experiences with one another. One of the biggest hurdles ex-cult members face is being able to adjust to life outside of the group. Former cult members are a valuable tool to be used with navigating this transition. Cults use psychosocial persuasion to manipulate a person to take on radical beliefs, lose their self-awareness, and become dependent on the group. In order for an individual to gain back their individualism, treatments must take on an opposing approach. The counselor cannot make the individual feel threatened, but instead must show empathy and acceptance. The cult's beliefs must be disputed with factual information, and individual thinking skills must be retaught. Treatment involves developmentally based psychotherapy. This form of therapy rebuilds the client's decision-making and autonomy. These areas are the most damaged by the cult and is first priority in recovery. Eventually, sessions will also address any issues that made the client susceptible to the cult's influence in the beginning. If these issues are not resolved, transition back into society could become overwhelming. Even though occult leaders are not brainwashing people, damage is still being done to the followers' cognitive thinking through these persuasion tactics. Social psychology has come a long way since kidnapping days. Using empathy and working with family members who provide acceptance, the clients can begin the road to recovery. Ultimately, the individual must have the autonomy to lead the cult and seek help. Their success depends on how committed they are to gaining back control over their own lives. Thank you.